Go ahead and make your way all the way down onto your mat. I like to do this because this is not a position where we tend to spend most of our time. And so what this does is it gives us a new place to start, a new place to breathe and relax and simply have kind of that fresh slate, that canvas that's completely blank. So take a few refreshing breaths to help get your body and your mind started into the process of yoga, the process of relaxation and release. So let your inhales be nice and deep into the belly, and let the exhales be even longer and slower. And continue that long, slow breath cycle as I take a moment to introduce a theme or intention for our practice today. And this is the theme of helping to calm anxiety. All the yin poses that I've chosen today are poses that help to calm down the nervous system, helping us to tune inward, to heal, and to uplift our spirits. And so whatever types of anxiety are going on in your world, be it, the craziness of COVID right now, or perhaps other personal things, anywhere from financial to relationships, whatever stressors and anxiety is going on, let's use this practice as a gift to us to help boost us through some of that hard stuff. So take another deep breath in and out, setting in that intention of calming and releasing some of that. And with that wonderful exhale, let's take a moment starting to bring the knees inward toward the chest. A nice hand on each knee. And we'll take just a moment to be with the low back and the hips. I love to start like this because this helps me to feel not only comfort in that low back, but it helps me to check in with how this part of the body is doing. A lot of our poses will do with some opening of the hips and that low back. So just checking in with it. And then we're going to start building up our first pose, which is cat chasing its tail. So you might be able to do the full pose, you might be able to do part of it. So it's not a huge stressor about how deep we come into this pose, but it's a pose that's got something for everybody. So what I'd like us to do to start heading into this shape is extend the left leg long down onto the ground. This bent right knee begins to travel over to the left side in a nice twist. Notice how we're not moving super quickly to get here. We're giving the spine lots of time to start opening up. From this point, the right leg can stay bent like this, or you're welcome to start to extend it long into a nice hamstring stretch off to that left side. So this is half of cat chasing its tail. You're welcome to simply be right here the whole time. No pressure to do anything more. If you're in a place where you'd like to take the full thing today, you start to take your free right hand toward those bottom toes. Once you've got a grip of that left foot, you can start to return the shoulder back down. What this does is it ends us up in three things: the quad stretch on left side, the hamstring stretch on the right leg, and this nice spinal twist that we've got going on. Now a little variation for those of you that can't grab the toes, just do a little loop of the strap around the toes, and that'll help you connect those two dots between the hand and the foot. So as we're here in this pose, we've got a couple of things that we can think about. First, imagine that this is helping to start our practice off today by wringing out some of that old, stressful stuff. It's like a washcloth. We've been washing our dishes, and now we've got all that gunk in our spine and in our body. So this first pose is helping us to start wringing some of that gunk out. But also think of it as a chance to be with our breath. Sometimes when we twist, we feel a little bit of anxiety starting to rise up because our breath has been crunched a little bit tighter than we normally have it. So use this as a chance to try to see how you can deepen that breath, making it slow and relaxed, just like we started. It's not so much a quality of running away from our anxieties as it is being present with each and every bit of it that's willing to arise for us today. And that presence changes it. It's like if you've had a monster in your closet your whole life, you've been afraid of it and you kind of ignored it and suppressed it. But perhaps today, if we open that closet door and we meet the monster, we realize that actually wasn't as scary as we've made it out to be our whole life. So presence, being with it, breathing with it. Let's take 3 more deep, slow breaths on this side before we begin to start switching directions. So as you finish that 3rd breath, take your dear sweet time, returning your hips back to the ground, and take a pause when you're back in this even space to simply feel how the body received that first half. Feel the imbalances so that we can then start to work toward this greater balance with the second side. Right leg begins to extend long. Left knee comes in toward the chest. And again, take your dear sweet time as this left knee begins to travel on its journey over to the right side. The left and the right sides of our body are like siblings. They're like twins. You could have a twin that looks exactly the same, but they're different. There's so much about their personality that's different. So don't necessarily treat the left and the right sides exactly the same. Be present with this side also, so that you can encourage it in the ways that are most helpful and most kind. If you'd like to start straightening that left leg long, you're welcome to start aiming toward that shape. Noticing the differences that happen with the left leg straightening off to that right side. It's not required if you simply prefer the twist. And then the last piece of the puzzle, if it feels good on this side, you have the option to grab the right toes with the left hand. That takes us into the right quadricep stretch, left hamstring stretch, and spinal rotation, opening up very deep and very full for us. Again, strap could be useful for either leg, really. And let's take some time to find presence with this side. What is it that's coming up for us? That could be physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, or any number of other experiences right now. Finding presence with the breath, how is that wanting to flow for us right now? See if you can make the next couple of breaths even longer, even slower. And let's take 3 more breaths to this direction. Everybody breathes at different rates, so only after the third is completely finished, take that slow journey to return onto your back. And a couple of breaths with the spine returned flat onto the ground. Notice how free the breath is again, all the way into the belly. And notice how in that return away from the twist, we've come back to a place of calmness, even down into this gut feeling that we have right in our belly. It's feeling a bit more calm, relaxed. So from here, we're gradually going to make our way up toward a seated position. You don't have to force your way up quickly. Perhaps roll over to a nice fetal position. And then walk your hands upward. No rush at all. As we make our way with the spine stacked now, eventually we find ourselves in butterfly or in cobbler's pose, whatever you call it. Bottoms of the feet are together. Today it's going to be your personal preference. Do the feet feel better really far away from us? Do they feel better as I tuck them really tightly into the pelvis? Your choice, your preference today. You also have this choice to play with it as we're here for several minutes. You're absolutely welcome to leave hands behind you. Noticing how the stacked spine allows the hips to open up like a book. And sometimes it's nice to go forward, experiencing in the sacrum and in the spine that type of opening. So I'm leaving it up to you. We've got several minutes here. We take lots of time in our yin classes. So feel free to be in a journey with your body. Asking the body, what would you like? What can I do for you? And really listening to it. What poses, what positions, what variations feel more anxious, which ones feel more calming. Try to find presence with the space of the calming. Perhaps starting to notice the pauses after the inhale and after the exhale. Those pauses are so natural when our breath is calm. It changes when we get stressed. So perhaps this teaches us something about the importance of taking breaks throughout our day, just like our breath. And is the body wanting to continue to evolve the shape? Has it reached the point where it's ready to go deeper, whatever deeper means today? Or is it still extremely content right in this exact spot? Take a deep breath in. Deep means all the way into the belly. And with a slow exhale, begin a journey returning back up. Our hands walking ourselves up. Our hands are behind the knees, scooping the feet to plant, a little bit wider than the hips. And then we take a few nice windshield wipers. Both knees go left and right. Good. The next time both knees go off to that left side, let them stay in this pinwheel shape. You can even grab the right ankle to tuck it a little bit closer to the body. So this nice pinwheel shape is where we're going to start the next evolution. We'll start off simply leaning forward. If you're leaning directly over the ankle and the shin, that's going to be the deeper variation of this pose. If you need to make it a little bit more easy on your hips, lean toward the direction that your left thigh is pointing out to. That'll be the slightly easier variation. So your choice, over the left shin or over the knee. And with this one, we're going to pause here for a while. But in about a minute or so, I'm going to give us a variation if you want to make it deeper. Nobody's required to go to the second spot, but there is a space where we can continue to evolve it. But first we start off right here. And that's the beautiful thing about yin, is taking so much time. Allow space for our hips, especially in this pose, to start opening. The muscles take a full 45 seconds or so to really start to relax in the stretch. And so by reaching that point of relaxation and then holding it even longer, we actually help to improve overall flexibility and overall circulation. So just enjoy this spot right here. We've got another couple of breaths. anybody who wants to help this pose go even deeper, what you're going to do is start taking the right leg further and further behind you. It could be a partial extension, kind of like where I'm at right now, or it could go into the full pigeon pose, where you pick your hips up and you're resting with that right leg long behind you. So this really is personal preference based on what your body's telling you right here, right now. Perhaps there's a way to allow your head to be restful. Maybe that means resting on a block. Sometimes I'll stack my fists to create a nice pillow for my forehead. So whatever's helpful, take that option. As we're checking in with our breath once again, can you even visualize your breath not only going into your belly, but also coming into your kidneys on your back? The kidneys are that place of, well, right above the kidneys is the adrenal gland. That's the place where that stress hormone, that fight or flight response originates. So imagine your breath going into that space. It's like a little massage, a little love for that gland, helping the gland know that at least right here, right now, I am 100% safe. Everything's calm, everything's good. So those deep breaths all the way into the kidneys. Take 3 more rounds of it, then we'll start to rise out. Zero rush as we start to work our way back toward a cobbler's pose for just a moment, not quite as long this time. Again, your option, maybe feet are further forward this time, maybe they're even tucked deeper in. Really, it's up to you. But just a couple of nice conscious breaths to notice how the body's in a different spot now than it was even just a few minutes ago. Things have already started to shift for us. We're a new person right here. So just enjoy 3 more of those deep belly breaths before we move on. Third breath coming to the conclusion, we arise, our feet plant again. Enjoy those nice, delicious windshield wipers. Sometimes I like to imagine that the speed of my windshield wipers helps to indicate what my reins are like within me right now. And so are your reins torrential? Are they going crazy and you need to go super quick? Nothing wrong with that. Are they super slow and you just kind of need to wipe it off here and there? It's fun because at this moment in time, we've actually got this rain going on right here in New Mexico. Kind of fun. Well, the next time we make the knees both go to the right, let's pause. The left toes can be tucked in even more. And if the left knee needs even more space, swinging it wider will make it more comfortable. That's perfectly fine. Remember the two options you have. Starting to tilt down toward the direction of the right knee will be the nice, easy version for the hips and the knee. Going more toward the angle of the shin will be slightly deeper. So don't feel like you have to necessarily go with exactly what you did on the second side. Sometimes our body is so different. There's a person I'm working with right now who has arthritis just in one hip. So her poses are so different from one side to the other. And for her body right now, that's okay. Imbalances are not necessarily wrong. It's like reading a book, you know, this is how it is right now. You know, maybe we can bring it toward closer balance with time, but no judgments right now. We're being present, we're being kind. Take another deep, slow breath right here. And then anybody who wishes to continue to extend the left leg back, you're welcome to start moving toward that shape. Maybe it goes part way back, or maybe full pigeon pose, lifting the hips up so that the sacrum is level. We're not collapsing onto one side or onto the other. If you're in that full shape, you're right there in the middle. And we're in this beautiful sleeping position, sleeping pigeon. Elbows are down. Perhaps we find that restful place for the forehead again, if that's accessible today. Pigeon pose is such a deep pose. You can feel so many different things that are connecting at that hip joint. All of it's being opened right now. But something kind of special about pigeon pose is that you also get this chance to open up the front of the other hip. So in this case right now, the front of the left side. That's where the psoas is. The psoas is notorious for holding tension, a lot of stressful emotions that happen in our life. The psoas holds on to it and it can become really rigid, really tight for us. So kind of imagine that poor psoas that's been holding on to so much stressful stuff, so much anxiety, that we're giving it a chance right here and right now to calm and to release. It doesn't have to hold on to it forever. It's not like the Greek god Atlas trying to hold the world up. It's not required right in that spot of our body. So as you're breathing those deep breaths, send that thought to your body. Calming, relaxing, loving. Can we be present with this shape for 3 more breaths? Slow and calm. That 3rd breath, we begin to rise back up. This time as we arise, we're going to swing both knees under our body in no rush. Take your dear sweet time. But we're coming into a nice kneeling shape. And let your body and your spine especially explore through any motions that are tight after all those deep openers. So this could look just like cat-cow, up and down. It could be more of a wagging your tail left and right. And it could even be more of a circular motion of the rib cage, rolling all around. This is one of those moments where it just feels so good to be with the body. So listen to it. Do every little urge that it has for us. We've got 2 more breaths. And then from here, we're heading to the shape of puppy pose. The main thing is that we leave our hips immediately over our knees as we start to walk the hands forward. So this looks different for everybody. For some people, the forehead is able to easily rest down. Some people have a block so they can rest their forehead down. Occasionally, there's people that can flip their chin and drop the heart even deeper. In Yin, this is also known as melting heart pose. So really letting that heart droop down, opening up that space of the body. And ultimately, you should be feeling a good, comfortable shoulder opener. Nothing too intense. If it gets intense, back out. Come a little bit higher up with the rib cage. But as long as it's still feeling good, I invite you to continue to explore it. How deep is our heart able to melt today? Several wonderful things about this pose. First of all, it is a slight inversion. Our head is lower than our heart. And at first it doesn't seem intuitive, but inversions actually do calm down the heart and the nervous system. And part of the reason for that is that most of the work of the heart, about 25% of it, is to get blood up into the head. So now with the head being below the heart gets to relax, and so the whole body benefits by it. So even simple inversions like this can be so powerful when we're trying to rid ourselves of some of that anxiety that seems to be ever present. And we're only a little bit longer in this pose, but if your shoulders are starting to get kind of tired, you're welcome to start heading backward and toward a child pose. So that's fine. That's where we're going to head in just a moment. But if you're still doing okay, let's try to slow the breath down so that we can be present for those last 3 slow, deep belly breaths. haven't started to head back toward child, sink the hips all the way toward the back of the mat, all the way to the feet. And from the child's pose, we'll take a nice restorative lateral twist. So just take a moment walking both hands really far off the left edge of the mat. What this does is pull that right shoulder and the right rib super long. Take one more good breath on this side. And then take that slow journey, hands walking back onto the mat until they can make their way over to the right side. And another good breath. And gradually return back onto the mat. If the forehead can rest down, we're here just another breath or so to help our spine remember what this long, straight alignment is. So now we start to walk our hands in. That helps us to rise up. And here we're going to take a yogic squat pose. This one can be kind of intense. If your knees cannot handle it, grab your block or a bolster, a stack of blankets, something like that to sit on instead, and that'll help you tremendously. But if you're able to do the full squat, our feet end up underneath us, feet a little bit wider than the hips. We try to keep feet all the way flat on the ground. So usually if I walk in or out a little bit, I'm able to find that good spot. Again, if this is intense at all, grab that thing to sit on. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still get that great hip opener from there. So usually I bring my elbows right to the insides of the knees and my hands are in prayer position, sinking further downward to not only stretch the wrists, but also to help encourage the hips to continue to open. See if the spine can grow just slightly taller. And then let's take some time for our ears. So our right ear is dropping all the way down to the right shoulder. So that nice neck stretch. And perhaps you rock the ear slightly behind the shoulder, lifting the jaw up for a moment. And then ear slightly in front of the right shoulder, nose down. Kind of milking that neck out, all those tight spaces. Eventually you're ready to roll the chin down into the chest. Left ear starts to make its way over left shoulder. Maybe the ear goes slightly behind the shoulder, jaw up. And ear in front of the shoulder, chin down. And as we're in this pose for a little bit longer, continue to play with the neck. Maybe you're happy just going left and right that one time and you simply want to rest your forehead down onto your middle fingers. Or maybe you want to continue to milk it out, going left and right. If it's too intense for anybody, you always can have this option to simply sit down and let the feet go nice and wide for the duration. We've got just a little bit longer. But if you're doing okay, we've got, like I said, just a little bit longer. We're almost there. Work your chin back down to the chest. And then head rises back up to this long, straight alignment. And here we get to take those last 3 breaths right here. Deeply into the belly. And out. Last one. Good work. One hand goes on the ground in front of us, one hand behind us so that we can gently set the hips down onto the earth. From there, both legs open up nice and wide, maybe about 80 to 90% of their maximum. No need to force it to go too much. And this is another place to play. Do your hands simply want to be behind you to help you find a nice tall posture in this wide angle pose? Or would you like to start scooting your hands forward, inching them really long? So be with your body, play with it. The one requirement I have is to keep your toes pointed upward. So it's easy to collapse them forward, it's easy to collapse them back based on what your tight areas are. But today I want you to keep it nice and lifted upward, no matter what variation you're taking. So notice how each of these poses can bring up really deep, really intense stuff. For instance, for a lot of people, pigeon pose is that crazy one. I just can't tolerate it, is what a lot of people say. Maybe it was that malasana pose, that squat that we were just in, working through your feet and working through your hips. And maybe it's this pose, such a deep, intense shape going on. So my recommendation right here, try to be with that emotion, whatever it is. Be with the intensity. Not to say that we're hurting ourselves. That's never ever allowed in yoga. But that's to say that we're not afraid of the emotions that might come up. We're letting ourselves be present, breathing through it, treating it like a gift. That the universe is asking us, okay, is this emotion ready for us to get rid of it, so that way it doesn't have to constantly be something sucking our energy like a vampire? Can we be free of it? Can we finally let that monster go by actually saying hello to it? We're almost done with this pose, but perhaps you're in a place where you want to explore the last couple of breaths with a whole new depth. So maybe you're inching even further to take those last 3 beautiful deep breaths. Efforts. As we come back up, swing both legs together. And notice how, the legs didn't immediately want to be in that shape. So adding little wiggles, like bending one knee and then bending the other, can be a nice kind release. Helping the tissues remember that they can be in motion rather than just in one stuck long position. And then when that starts to feel pretty complete, let's work our way onto our backs once again. from here, we're heading into saddle or into happy baby pose. And if it feels better to just simply hug around the knees, that's an awesome variation if you'd like to take that instead. Kind of ending class where we began. Otherwise, continue to slide the hands up to the outside edges of the feet. Knees are wide so that the arms can have space inside of the knee. And this is a place where you can absolutely just stay still, like that quality of yin yoga, pulling the feet down so that the hips continue to open. But as this is one of the last poses we're sharing together, if you'd like to have any other movements, kind of like a baby moves around wiggling and touching their feet, you're absolutely welcome to add any of those in. So some of my favorites are rocking left and right. Or I love to straighten one leg up to the sky and then straighten the other leg up. So play with the body, but especially listen to the body. It's like this is one of those last chances to get into some of those tight things before we take our Savasana. It's this last chance to let some of that energy go that may still be a little bit stuck. So we're wiggling it out. We're breathing. And if there's other little movements that your body needs instead of this, you're welcome to take them. Maybe one of us needs a twist instead. Or maybe there's other little tiny things that we can do as a last gift for our body. So I give you permission to explore. And there's zero rush to head into Savasana. But you've got some options with Savasana when you're eventually ready to be there. For those of us with a little bit of low back pain going on, maybe some of those stretches were kind of deep for us, my recommendation would be planting the feet as wide as the mat and letting the knees fall inward toward one another. Maybe some of us are hip opener lovers and we do the opposite. Bottoms of the feet are together, knees go super wide. Or there's always the option just to take our normal Savasana, sliding the legs long. So no rush to get into our shape, but we've got lots of options. Find the variation that's the best for your body today. And as we're heading into this restful place, this Savasana, it's an opportunity for our body to integrate all the benefits of this beautiful practice we just had. All we need to focus on is our breath. So I invite you once again, notice that deep, slow breath. Notice the pause right after the inhale and the pause right after the exhale. Letting there be no worries on our mind at all. It's just us and our breath right here, right now. Now there might be some of us who are coming toward the end of our day and we wish to continue to lay here. For those of us that's the case, just continue to enjoy the gravity and the floor supporting you like a big hug. For those of us who are going to start heading up, I invite you to start by just taking a deep breath in and a wonderful exhale. Perhaps little movements start to return to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Maybe stretching out like you're waking up first thing in the morning. Heading to a comfortable fetal position to one side. Enjoying a good 4 or 5 breaths before needing to head up. If you've arisen, we find ourselves joining our hands together in front of the heart. Closing the eyes, tune into the sense of calm and peace that's completely permeating our existence right now. This is that calm that we're allowing ourselves to carry forward into this next stage of our life. This next day, this next week. And so with this tremendous calmness to help us meet all of our fears, all of our anxieties, let's allow us to wrap up this precious time we got to share together with a sound of Om. Taking a deep inhale now. Om. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.